Hello and welcome to another episode of Sanity Killer Projects. Today we're going to do an oil change on the 2008 Chevy Silverado 2500 with a 6.6 liter diesel. This one's also a 4x4. Just so you're aware, we've had a little bit of rain come through this morning and it is very windy, so the microphone may get a little blown sound. So just be aware, there's not much we could do to stop that. 2500 is anything like ours. You should be able to easily get underneath the vehicle without having to jack up the car. If you do have to jack it up, the A-arm right here is a good flat point to lift and put your supports. In our case, it's high enough up I don't have to jack or jack stand anything. This right here is your drain plug. It's just behind this skid plate. It takes a 13 millimeter to unscrew it. So we're going to undo this drain plug, and then the next thing that we'll end up doing is taking out the filter. The filter is a little bit left of the drain plug and further up and in. This is it right here. This one in particular has a pH 9100 on it. So let's get started taking off this drain plug. Now that we got the drain plug off and the oil is flowing out of it, I want to make note of one thing. If you work in a lube shop and you run the bolt down with an impact, you drive people like me insane. Alright, to remove the oil filter, I'm going to take my pliers, my filter pliers, and turn it counterclockwise until it breaks loose, and then once it does, we'll just unscrew it and drain the oil out of there. Alright, for all the Chevy purists out there, normally I would put a pH 9100 or a Fram oil filter on this, but just for the heck of it, I decided to go with what the Chevy purists would like, which is the PF 2232. These are both the tall versions of the filter. It's probably best to use the tall version of the filter. I got some other numbers just in case. Fram is pH 9100 for the tall filter. SDP starts with an S, and then it's still the 9100. There's also the Mobile One M1-303A, and then the filter that we're putting on, which is the PF 2232. The short versions are the PH 10060, the Mobile One M1-113A. The AC Delco is the PF 48, and of course the SDP is the 10060 with an S on the front of it instead of a PH. I probably would have put a TG filter or XG filter on this, because we don't drive this for a long period of time, and it goes a long time between oil changes. But, you know, Chevy purists love their Chevy parts, so I put in a AC Delco filter this time. Always I like to pre-fill my filters with a little bit of oil before they go on. For this oil change we're using Mobile Dovec synthetic heavy duty 1540. Again, we're using this because we don't go long times between some oil changes, so I need something that's good for sitting around for a while, and it's not going to mess with it. So that's why we're using a synthetic. We normally put synthetic in this truck, but that's what's going in here. Don't mind the hammer. It's literally just there to hold my rags because it is windy. So I'm going to pre-fill this guy and then start threading it into place. Okay, so the new oil filter is in and on and tighten down snug, and then a quarter turn past snug to set it. Before I move on further, I want to make sure that the old oil filter gasket is off. Make sure that you take some of the new oil, whether you fill the oil filter before or not, and rub it around the oil seal for the filter. If you don't, it doesn't tighten up properly. Also, you need to make sure that other ring is out so that you don't double stack the O-rings. It will leak if you do that. Next, we'll move on to filling. Everything under here has been cleaned up and taken care of. As you probably saw when I was pulling out the drain plug, it was going all over the guard right there, so I've cleaned all that up, and we'll move on to filling. So I'm almost done filling this thing up, but I do want to mention that make sure to remove your oil cap, put your filler funnel into here. This motor, the 6.6 liter diesel, takes 2.5 gallons or 10 quarts of oil. It will be this entire jug. So we're going to put the whole thing in there. I've got it about halfway done, but you know, it's heavy and I'm holding it basically at head height, trying to dump it in there. So it takes a minute to get it all in. Once we do that, we'll run it and check the levels. Once all the oil has been replaced and everything has been put back the way it's supposed to be with all new fresh oil in it, we're going to start the car, let it warm up. We're going to check to make sure the oil pressure is good, and we're going to bring the oil temperature up by checking the temperature gauge to make sure that we're up off of the 160. I'm not going to let it go to where it's all the way up to normal running temperature, but we do want it warmed up with oil cycling good around the motor. Then we'll get out and check the oil level. The other thing that can be done at this point is we can reset the oil life. So you're going to go over here to the info buttons. You're going to hit the one with the car and the little eye. It will go through all the menus until it gets to the oil life. Then you hit the check mark and hold it, and it should replace it. Now it's at 100%, so it shows that we've changed the oil. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check the oil plug, make sure there's no oil on it. We're also going to check the oil filter to make sure there's no oil running off of it, and then we'll check the oil level on the stick. On this engine there are two dipsticks. There's one in the far back there with the black handle on it. That's for the transmission. So check the oil and the transmission level. The yellow one that is up front right here, that is the one to check the oil level for the engine. It was just too difficult to do it with one hand, so I've already pulled it out and checking it. It is in a good range. It's where it's supposed to be. What you need to do is have it warmed up and shut off on level ground. Pull the stick out once, wipe it, put it back in, pull it back out and check it the second time. That'll give you your actual oil level reading. And as you can see, this one's full. Alright, so before I wrap up this video completely, the other thing that I will say is that whenever I do an oil change, I also drive the car around the block. Sometimes the raised RPMs will show signs of the bad seal on the oil filter. I just got done doing that. So this oil change is done. So as always, thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It always helps out the channel, especially if we were able to help you in some way, shape, or form, or if you just like videos on Chevy 2500s. We may end up having more videos on this coming up. So, thanks for watching.